Each year we work hard to improve what we do. We always run some sort of video to introduce our theme for the next year. We work hard to make sure that it looks good, that it sounds good, that it excites you to come back.
We feel it is important to excite you and make you want to come back and spend more time with other Christians. But the mission of Exposure is much more than that. That is why this coming year, we are going to do something a little different.
This is not a video with frills or explosions, just a message we think is vitally important.
There's not a single youth minister or church leader watching this video that's not concerned when we lose even a single soul to the world. We realize that a large number of those who are watching this video will leave church within a year of leaving their youth group, and many will never return.
We want Exposure to continue to be a vehicle to excite, but we also want it to be a vehicle that actively engages issues that are facing Christianity today.
We realize that the future of the church depends on two vitally important missions. One is joining in the mission of reaching the unreached. That's why Exposure is partnering with Adventures in Ministry and forming AIM Global Ministries, a vehicle primarily created to reach and engage teenagers in places that don't have the luxury of events like Exposure.
The second mission is to challenge the narrative. We need more of you to recognize the importance of the mission of the church. We realize that you as teenagers live in a world that is constantly trying to pull you in 1,000 directions. It can leave you struggling to find your place, and the frustration that comes with that may cause you to shut down or even to quit.
Next year's Exposure will have a singular focus, and that's to call you to anchor down in the gospel. The gospel must be the home of your identity.
When there are 1,000 voices out there telling you to leave, this is a rallying cry to hang on to what is good. This is a call to stay.
My name is Paul Sperlin. With me here, as usual, is John Podine. We're here on behalf of Exposure Youth Camp to talk to you a little bit about some new things going on for our year this year. I want to first of all, and then we'll get to John in a minute, but I want to explain to you the video you just watched was a video that we shared at the end of Exposure 2019. And a lot has happened since then and May 1. What we did is Adventures in Ministry changed over to a new business model to help be more efficient in our work for the Lord's kingdom, and it is now called the Ministry League. As you well know, you go to ministryleague.com to check out all the resources. Everything we had before is there, and much, much more. Ministry League and Exposure Youth Camp are partnering together to put on an event, but also have some really great resources all through the year. And so we're really thankful for this opportunity to talk to you today about this event at Exposure Youth Camp that we all know and love. That is has now teamed up with Ministry League. John.
Yeah, Paul, this is our 23rd year. I mean, I don't know if anybody wants to think about this, but this is our 23rd year that Exposure Youth Camp is going to take place. Once again, we are going to be in Huntsville, Alabama, December 27th through the 30th, and we're so excited. Our theme this year, let's see if I can point to the right one, is stay. And so we're so excited, as you saw in the video and all that. We know that there's a lot of questions that some of you have been having. So that's why Paul and I kind of wanted to do this video a little bit, just quick little, video here to talk about some of the things that are taking place and some of the things we're going to do given the current status with the pandemic that all of us are facing each day of our lives.
So please understand that we've gone through the past, I'd say, year to 6 months. Every meeting we have, all we're doing is talking about what's open, what's closed, right. What do we do? The research we found, a lot of businesses are still running, a lot of events are still happening. They may not be as large as they used to be, but they're having to go through these guidelines the CDC has put out, which we also are doing. Now, what we're sharing with you today is today's information. Things may change. Things may change November 3rd. Things may change December 25th. But we are going to keep up to date with everything and let you know what all is going on. But as of today, this is what we have. This is what we want to share. So,
And you said that right, Paul. One thing that we're doing is, there's so many people that are watching this right now that live in different locations in different states, and your state may be different. A lot of what you will hear today is based upon, yes, the CDC guidelines, number one, but also what takes place within the state of Alabama and locally within Huntsville and also within their organization. So we need to just hope you understand. And we're asking for all of your patience and help with us with this and working with us with all of this so that we can have a great event.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that, John. You said it perfectly. It gets us right where we need to get to talk about all these things and answer some of the questions that are going to come up soon too. So that's really neat. So let me give you a little outline of what we're going to talk about today. And this won't take long. We're going to go through this pretty fast. Any follow-up information, any questions you want to have for us, always send us an email at board@exposureyouthcamp.com. If you plan to attend the event, board@exposureyouthcamp.com. Let us know who you are, what congregation you are, contact information, how many people you plan to bring. It'll really help us in our planning for this event. So some of the things we're going to talk about in this order, we're going to talk about the registration process this year. We're going to talk about the COVID guidelines. We're going to talk about team time, because that's the purpose by which we get together. That's why the word exposure was put onto this originally, because of our exposure to the people, meeting people in the Lord's Church all across the nation, because that's where we're at this point. There's people all across the nation attending exposure and locations who are wanting to host an exposure youth camp. So we're really excited about what the future offers. We're also going to talk about how the schedule is going to work out and things, ins and outs of that, and some other things that some housekeeping we want to share with you. So let's go ahead and start, John, with registration. We start November 11th. November is 11. It's the 11th month of the year.
11.
So 11. I'm all about the ones. So we can. So November 1 is when registration opens. It opens at 12:01 in the morning. It will be open there, and that's when you start to register. We want to encourage you. I want to encourage you today. If you know how many's coming to exposure, regardless of names, if you know how many's coming, go ahead and drop a check for that many people in the mail now. Send it to this address that we're going to be sharing with you. That address is 625 Palisades Boulevard, Birmingham, Alabama, 35209. Yeah, 35209. So send it to Exposure Youth Camp to that address. Maybe popping up. If not, hopefully you got that information. I'll say it one more time. It is 625 Palisades Boulevard, Birmingham, Alabama, 35209. And attention to Paul Spurlin. And whether you do that or not, come to me. Just make it to Exposure, and we'll get that. Here's why it's important to go ahead and do that now. A lot of reasons. So the way the registration process is going to work, I know a lot of folks want to be in the embassy suites, and obviously the first ones who usually register usually get in there. Right now, the way we have it, the way it's going to be, is from November 1 to November 14, which ends our early registration, is $175 per person. Okay, so keep that in mind, $175 per person. That is for age 4 and up. Age 4 and up will pay $175 per person. And so if you register that first day, if you send your check ahead of time, but you register that first day and pay by the 7th day of November, you are in the pot to be pulled for random draw for who gets in the embassy. Now, the way the numbers are going, what we think, we feel like whoever registers may not everybody be in there. That's one story. We hope more people will show up, but that's kind of where we're right now, John.
Yeah, and we want everybody to know, and Paul, part of this, and we're going to talk about the guidelines, especially with the current COVID situation and stuff like this. We want everybody to know, we wish that we could allow everybody to come to Exposure that wants to come to Exposure. But because of guidelines and because of situations, we're going to have to cap the number at 2,000. That is the total that we will be able to allow to have in there. We hope we get it. We hope we're at that point. We don't know what to expect, to be honest with you. We have a bunch of you that have said, yes, we're coming. We can't wait because we're excited. And so we hope that's the case. But to make sure that you're in, the sooner you get that in, the sooner you get that registration in and get it paid, the sooner we can guarantee that you will have a spot at Exposure this year. The other reason that Paul had mentioned in there, part of we need your number as soon as possible, because part of the planning that we need to do schedule-wise, and we'll talk about this in a second, depends upon how many people we do have. And to be able to officially say, here's exactly every little piece of what it's going to look like, we need to have that number. So if you could get that in as soon as you possibly can, if there's an issue, please let us know, and we will definitely help you with whatever situation we can.
Right. Let me go over what I said earlier, just really clear that up. If you're sending a check, it doesn't matter about the names. When you register, that's when it matters. So November 1st, we have to have names. Ben Franklin, Abraham Lincoln, they will not be attending, so please don't put their names down. Your registration will be void if we recognize names that are not real people.
And Paul, today, I think we should also tell everybody this right now ahead of time because of the current situation. Some of you may be asking the question, well, what if we go ahead and register on November 1st, but then an outbreak happens and changes that situation, say November 29th, before registration closes on December 1. We want you to know that if you cancel prior to December 1, if you have to go back and say, we cannot attend because of this, we want you to know that you will get a full refund of what you have done. Now, if you pay online, we need you to understand this. There is a processing fee that the credit card company charges, not us, that the credit card company charges you to pay with a credit card online. We won't be able to refund that, but we will give you a full refund up until if you cancel before December 1st. Of your registration fees.
Absolutely correct. So registration is the 1st of November through the 14th. Late registration starts the 15th to the end of November. That goes from $175 early reg to $200 for late registration. And then, of course, there's no adding of people after December 1 deadline. Now, if you have a kid or a person who, because of COVID or anything, if they're sick, they can't go, and you can replace that person, no problem at all. That is okay. But if you're adding people, there'll be a $25 charge per person that you add, in addition to the $200. So it's late, and then you got a lot of shuffling of things we have to do to prepare to add those, and of course, if someone can't come because of COVID, we are dealing with those by case basis. So just go to the website and read the information to keep up to date on that.
Well, and we hope everybody understands that we're having to be a little more strict this year with things because of the current COVID situation, because of things that we're having to put out on the line, and also because of some of the rules that we need to follow to be able to protect everybody. That's why we're having to have it. So it behooves you, get it in early, and that way we can kind of all be on the same page.
Right. And I'm going to share something that I haven't even gotten approved to mention. I'm going to say this. Exposure Youth Camp works year by year. We do not have a boatload, no pun intended, to our theme this year of stay. We do not have a boatload of cash just waiting, okay? We work year to year. So if the numbers aren't great, it hurts us in being able to do all the things we like to do. So keep that in mind.
Right.
So we always take donations, and I'm very serious when I say that. If you'd love to make a donation to Exposure, we actually got a check today for a donation to help us to continue. So that's really good. As far as registration goes, John, that's all that I have. Anything else you have before we move on to the?
Well, to the probably why everybody's watching.
Why everybody's here, yeah.
Sure. No, but if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to call me, to call Paul, to call any of the board members there. Send us an email. We will definitely answer any question that we possibly can.
Absolutely. Okay, so getting to the COVID guidelines, these are the Exposure Youth Camp COVID guidelines. Right. There's a lot of things that we're going to be going through with you. If you've been on the website, you've read the document, we're basically kind of going to go through it, kind of give you a little information on why we did this, why we did that, as fast as we can. So this video isn't very long, or as long as it could be. But understand we're following CDC guidelines. As John mentioned before, we're also following what Huntsville wants, but some things supersede government when it comes to how organizations work. And if an organization does something, implements something that government doesn't, we have to follow what the organization asks us to do. So that is the big thing. So let's go ahead and jump in. As we have this is as of yesterday's date. You can say today's date because CDC hasn't introduced anything else. But the big thing from the beginning is the Von Braun Center, where we will be for all of our sessions and worship and everything, has a mask order, 100% mask wearing issue going to the end of the year. So regardless of what the state does, the Von Braun Center will have a mask need for everyone attending. We're going to help you with that too, by the way.
And Paul, I think it's interesting. We need to say, currently where we're at in the state of Alabama, we have a mask mandate of any place in a public area, unless you're outside, that you have to wear one, except even going into a restaurant. Then once you sit down, you can take it off. So that is actually the mandate that we're under here in the state. But it currently, the governor extends them every 30 days, and it continues right now to the beginning of November. So what Paul is trying to say is VBC, and not only the VBC, but even the hotels require masks to be worn. So that's why we're making sure that everybody understands this, and that this is part of the organization's mandated.
Yeah, so not just the Von Braun Center, but the hospitality businesses in town, which is the Embassy Suites or any hotel we use, they're all expecting a mask, wearing of mask in all public areas in those hotels. And so what that means is in your sleeping room, obviously you can take it off. But once you sit down to eat anywhere, you may take that off. But otherwise, we're wearing masks. And John, do we tell them about what's happening with the masks and T-shirts now, or do we say that for later?
Secret.
Oh, it's a secret.
That's a secret. But can I do make this one plea, Paul? I didn't want to make this plea. And please, this is not a political thing. This is not we know that there are people who have different views of the mask and about the mask wearing anything. Can we just ask you and make this plea is you may be okay not wearing one, but that person next to you who's your brother or sister in Christ may have a problem with it. And to be able to have the safest event, to be able to have the most people that we can have attend, because I know all of you have been sending us things about, oh, we're just ready to get out. Our kids need something to do something. This is going to help us do it. Please think about that other person and loving other people enough, and just for 3 days, come and even if you don't like wearing them, because a lot of us don't like wearing them, but for the sake of unity and for what we're trying to do here, please help us out on this.
And we'll try to help provide you opportunities to be able to have those masks as well.
Right.
Getting into the COVID-19 itself, anyone who is diagnosed with COVID, up to 14 days prior to our event, starting on 12/13 or before, should not attend. If you have breathing problems, you should not attend. If you have problems wearing a mask, you should not attend. So it's just a bad look if we're saying everyone has to wear masks and we let a few people walk around without them. It's not good for us. And so we're going to keep that in mind. So a few things to keep in mind on that. As far as fever goes, we have a 100.4 degrees. And I think if you have a 100-degree temperature, you probably shouldn't be coming in anyway. If you do have that temperature, you will not be admitted in the building. We are going to respect and ask the youth leaders, the group leaders, and adults to help us to make sure that all that falls through. Anyone who is known or close to contact with anyone confirmed suspect of COVID-19, also a reason not to come. If you've been exposed to it, do not come. Anyone
14 days. I think everybody needs.
It's 14 days. It is 14 days.
Yeah.
Anyone tested positive or pending results for COVID through a diagnostic test, also, please do not come. Take care of yourself first and foremost, and also we got to think about everybody else as well.
And Paul, here's what I think what you're trying to say, and so we can kind of say, if you feel that you are sick in whatsoever, please don't get on that bus on December 26th or December 27th and head over.
Yeah.
We want you to come. We understand it's also flu season. We also understand that there's sinuses going on and stuff like this. There, just in these last few weeks, Paul and I have both been in around people who didn't feel well, but decided they were still going to come to a meeting or to church or something like this. And well, I felt bad, but I didn't feel that bad. Then 2 days later, they go and test positive. And then other people have been exposed to it. So please, we're asking you, if you have any of these things, please, we want you to come, but please stay home for this time.
Now, one thing John mentioned gets into the next part of this on the COVID restrictions and guidelines here. We are looking at youth groups, at groups coming to exposure as a family. Okay. We cannot ask you to distance from one another, especially if you came to this event on a bus together. So as he said, please don't get on the bus if you're sick or feel sick or out of that 14 days or not out of that 14 days recovery for quarantine. So please keep that in mind. Every youth group is a family. You will be grouped together at worship as your youth group. There's not going to be mixing and mingling of sitting in anywhere. That you will be with your youth group where you go sit down, whether it's eating or worshiping. We're also providing clusters of chairs in the challenge sessions as well. So you'll know where to go sit together as a youth group. Sorry, this is the year for this, and this is what we have to do to be able to do this event. And we're asking you to help us be successful in this. That's the key. That's the big thing.
Absolutely.
So other than that, we are asking for distancing, social distancing of 6 feet. If you've ever been to exposure, you're looking at me like, how in the world are we going to do that? We're going to do our very best. We're going to do our very best. That's what wearing the mask is going to help with other stuff. And so.
And some of you will notice if you've been there.
That gets into some team time stuff. We'll get that a little bit later.
Yeah, I think Paul keeps freezing a little bit. There we go. So we talked over each other. Sorry. Sorry about that. But we are going to be doing some different things of helping you to be able to move, even if it's including now, if it's inclement weather, we won't be able to, but walking outside and transporting from place to place, even outdoors, to try to break down the crowd and doing some of those things, even dismissing at special times. So you know, you do it every Sunday. Most of our congregations are back worshiping now, and there's different protocols for even exiting buildings. I've seen different things from all over. It's going to be similar to that, just on a grander scale.
Right. If you feel sick, if you have questions, we are going to have a medical staff on hand, healthcare professionals that know what they're doing, and a dedicated place and location for you to go to find out. And so please let your youth minister know, your parents, chaperones in your group, if there's an issue for that.
Right.
Let me go ahead and say this now, what's on my mind. It may be down my list here. Harsh it may sound, but it has to be done. If someone in your group finds out while they're at exposure, they have COVID, we will have to send the whole group home. It's tough. It's tough. You may say, well, we brought 2 cars and someone in this room, they can take them home. The fact is you may be together with other people in team time, and it's just best to make separation. We apologize for that, but that's why it's so important to make sure you're well before you come. So,
right.
So please do that. All right. A lot of things that are listed in this document. Go to the website to find it, to look at it, how the mask should be worn, how you should be feeling and not feeling. We are talking about waivers. We'll talk more of that later and communicate that to you. And of course, we sort of end this document by saying, if you plan to attend Exposure Youth Camp, I started this out with this statement, but please do this. board@exposureyouthcamp.com. Let us know your intentions to attend. And you can let us know your intentions to not attend. If you feel like that this isn't your thing this year, then we understand and love you all the more. And prayers are with you. So that's what I have on COVID, John.
Yeah, and a lot of it, you're doing it right now where you live. You're going to school and you have these protocols. Our kids are having to get used to these things and doing some of these things. And we want you to know this could still be amended between now and when we start. If there are different rules that are put on us and everything else like this, there could be other things. But this is where we are at as of right now. If you have some questions, please contact us, and we'll be able to talk with you more about that.
So let's get to the next part of this, and that is the team time. That is what I guess you would call the bell cow. It is the quarterback. It is the part of what we do that makes us who we are. And so this is kind of how the format's going to go, and how how it's gonna fly. John, do you have this, or do you need me to do this?
You can go ahead and do this. I mean, I remember from our conversations that we had at our board meeting about this. But
Well, follow me on this. Make sure I don't miss anything on here. The format basically is there's going to be some song selections. There's some group discussions in the class. There's going to be some objective discussions and some games that'll be able to happen during your time. The focus basically is we're going to kind of give every congregation its chance to be its own team for distancing purposes. And so 2020 team time proposal, this is what we're offering, we're asking right now, in accordance with COVID-19 is this. Masks will be worn during team time. Masks are worn in all public areas like that. And there's a few things to think and keep in mind. You can choose to be your own team as a congregation, or you can choose to merge with one other group. All that we ask is that you do not go over 30 people per group. Okay. So you can go as a congregation, you can merge with another congregation. We call it regional teams, because these are probably people you're already going area-wise with, if you're going area-wise, or you spent time with. But no, we're going to distance in these team time, even within your groups, but especially if you merge with another group as well. And do not go over 30 people on that. John?
yeah, and this is, that's one of the things that people love about exposure is our team time, to be able to meet other people and go to other things. Look, we all know it. 2020 has been a crazy year already, and so this year is going to look a little bit different. And this is probably the biggest thing that you will see that will be the biggest difference with exposure. We were trying to figure a way, how can you preserve our team time atmosphere, but deal with the pandemic at the same time? And this is the only way that we figure that we can do that is within your own youth group, or somebody who's regional. Like Paul said, you got kids that go to school together and they may attend different congregations, but they're attending school together. And so we encourage that. But we didn't want to put, say, somebody who's coming from Mississippi with somebody who's coming from Central Florida, because of different locations and different things that they have been exposed to. So just that's kind of how we wanted to determine all that.
Right. And so obviously we're not splitting up groups for team time per age or anything like that. Mm-hmm. Not happening. And an update too, for our college group, this is the first year. We've had this for 5 or 6 years, I think now. It's always been really successful, but this being the COVID year, trying to stay safe, we ask college students to maintain their time in the youth group they travel with, right, and serve as either team leaders or team leader assistants within that group. They're going to need you. And to be honest with you, Exposure Youth Camp is going to need you right, to be there to help them. There will not be a college group gathering this year.
And the reason why it goes back to the same thing of what we're saying, especially college students, and you understand this because some of your universities have put out something, whether it's like when y'all went home for what's Labor Day weekend and things like this, of watching where you're going, and there's college students going to so many different locations and coming together that we're going to have to keep you with your congregation. And service chaperones, serve, as Paul said, serve as those team leaders and as those mentors for your youth groups that are going to be there.
And you'll receive an email from Will Tucker, who is in charge of our team stuff, and so please be ready for that as it comes to you. And of course, group do, or maybe it'll be combined. I'm not sure how that'll work yet, but that's where we are on the team time. John, you want to talk about the schedule?
Yeah, and because of all of this, the schedule is going to look a little bit different. What we are doing is we are feeding everybody there. We're trying to create this exposure bubble with everybody that's there, so you don't have to leave. Basically, once you arrive and you're at the hotels or in the Von Braun, you don't have to leave the locations, and so we're all there together. So there's not a chance of exposing somebody and bringing it back into the area. So we're feeding everybody there. Lunch will be divided. The most that we can separate at one time is about 700 to 750 people to be able to spread out enough and to give the Von Braun Center and us some time to sanitize and prepare for the next round to come. So you will see different lunch sessions that you will see in there that will mix team time in when people who aren't at lunch and everything like that. And that will all depend on how many we have attend, Paul. And that's why we're encouraging everybody to please get registered so we can plan some of this. If we have 2,000 people, we're going to have 3 lunches. And so we're going to spread it all out, 3 dinners, and we're going to spread it all out and make sure there's enough time to get between place to place, to be able to not feel rushed. You know, we're going to give you more than 10 minutes to go from one side of the Von Braun Center to the other to make sure we get enough time to social distance and everything. And so there's just going to be a lot more time in there. I think it's going to work out great. We're going to have a lot of wonderful time working and interacting together. You'll see some things that aren't on the schedule that we may have done in the past. We are still working on entertainment. We're bringing in entertainment that is in-house. So there's not a lot of mixtures. We won't be doing hockey this year because of the COVID situation in particular. And so we just wanted to keep everybody as safe as we possibly could. Paul may have frozen on me. Well,
So you said you're frozen too. We're a couple of frozen people in the water. I got a little fun with it. So there's one thing we haven't mentioned that I think we still need to make mention of this, and partly it's because of where exposure is located. I think per capita, there's probably more congregations located around the Huntsville area than any other place of anyone who attends this event. And so that being said, and it's a sad news, but if the NBA can create a bubble, I think we can. So, and they did pretty well with it, I would say. Major League Baseball also did that as well. So, and that's why we have all the meals. There'll be no need to leave.
Right.
And we ask that when you come, kind of stay. And we'll be using all the hotels right around the Von Braun Center. There's about, what is there, 1, 2, 3? There's 3 right around the hotel that will take care of, 4 that will take care of our needs. And so no one will be driving a mile away. No one will really have to drive. Yeah. I mean, you may not have to drive. Well, if you're at Homewood Suites, you might have to. But yeah, it's really, really close. It's going to be very convenient. Still keep in mind that November 1 through November 14 situation for the registration. We're calling it the draft, and to see who gets to get in the embassy this year. So the thing that we need to mention is that we cannot allow visitors into the building. So if you're coming to any part of exposure, you're going to have to register and be a willing participant to stay here with us. Right. So please keep that in mind. Anything else with that, John?
No, and that's the big thing is we love visitors. That's one of the biggest things with exposure. We always have, I don't know, 300-400 people that will come at night for worship and stuff like this. And we'd love to have you come.
Yeah.
But we've got to keep everybody safe. And that's the only way we're going to be able to do this event is it's trying to keep everybody safe and everybody following these rules. And so if you are planning to come, we need you to register and to be here. And we'd love to have visitors, but we're going to have them watch online to be a part of that, at least for this year.
Right. So what we're going to do, is in the future, and that starts this Friday at 10 o'clock Central Standard Time for the John and Paul Show. It's on Facebook. If you're not already following, please do that. And not just because we think the show's pretty cool, but also because the first 5 minutes always is dedicated to exposure. And we're wide open to your questions. When you ask questions in the show notes, we will answer them right there so you get your answers. We'll answer the questions that we can answer. And we can't answer the questions that may not be available to us yet. But right now, we have everything we need to be able to do this. And so this is it. So go to Facebook. And you're probably at Facebook because you're here now. But go to the John and Paul Show and like it and get notified when our shows happen every Friday at 10 o'clock, and we'll give you that information.
Absolutely.
Each year we work hard to improve what we do. We always run some sort of video to introduce our theme for the next year. We work hard to make sure that it looks good, that it sounds good, that it excites you to come back.
We feel it is important to excite you and make you want to come back and spend more time with other Christians. But the mission of Exposure is much more than that. That is why this coming year, we are going to do something a little different.
This is not a video with frills or explosions, just a message we think is vitally important.
There is not a single youth minister or church leader watching this video that's not concerned when we lose even a single soul to the world. We realize that a large number of those who are watching this video will leave church within a year of leaving their youth group, and many will never return.
We want Exposure to continue to be a vehicle to excite, but we also want it to be a vehicle that actively engages issues that are facing Christianity today.
We realize that the future of the church depends on two vitally important missions. One is joining in the mission of reaching the unreached. That's why Exposure is partnering with Adventures in Ministry and forming AIM Global Ministries, a vehicle primarily created to reach and engage teenagers in places that don't have the luxury of events like Exposure.
The second mission is to challenge the narrative. We need more of you to recognize the importance of the mission of the church. We realize that you as teenagers live in a world that is constantly trying to pull you in 1,000 directions. It can leave you struggling to find your place, and the frustration that comes with that may cause you to shut down or even to quit.
Next year's Exposure will have a singular focus, and that's to call you to anchor down in the gospel. The gospel must be the home of your identity.
When there are 1,000 voices out there telling you to leave, this is a rallying cry to hang on to what is good. This is a call to stay.